Okay, so before we start, we're going to do 2 little surveys about how you feel about writing and how you feel about writing. So the first one we'll do is about reading. Okay, so you're going to look at these Garfields. All right. So the first question, how do you feel when you read a book on a rainy Saturday? You're going to circle the Garfields for how you feel about it. So this is the most excited. It's like, yes, I always want to read. Or, stop. Or, reading's okay. Or, no, I don't like reading. Or, no, I hate reading. Okay? So that's how you're going to answer all of them. Alright? And if you need help reading it, just let me know and I'll read it with you. Okay? So please circle the picture that best describes how you feel when you read a book. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead. Number 1. Okay. How do you feel about spending free time reading a book? Okay. How do you feel about starting a new book? How do you feel about reading during summer vacation? All right, put your hand. How do you feel about reading instead of playing? Okay. How do you feel about going to a bookstore? How do you feel about reading different kinds of books? How do you feel when a teacher asks you questions about what you read? How do you feel about reading workbook pages and worksheets? Okay. How do you feel about reading in school? How do you feel about reading your school books? How do you feel about learning from a book? How do you feel when it's time for reading in class? Last page. How do you feel about stories you read in reading class? How do you feel when you read out loud in class? How do you feel about using a dictionary? Dictionary has words in it so you can look them up instead of looking at the phone like you do now. How do you feel about taking a reading test? Yeah, thank you. Alright, so now we'll move on to the reading part. The reading survey. Hit. Alright. Alright, again, like we did here, more Garfields. So circle the picture that describes how you feel when you read a book. So, first one. Or, no, yeah. So this one's all about writing. So, how would you feel writing a letter? How would you feel writing a letter to the author of a book you read? How would you feel if you wrote about something you have heard or seen? How do you feel writing a letter to a store asking about something you might buy there? How would you feel telling and writing why something happened? Okay. How do you feel about spending free time reading? How would you feel keeping a diary? How do you feel writing poetry for fun? How would you feel writing a letter starting your opinion about a topic? How do you feel if you were an author who writes books? How do you feel if you had a job as a writer for a newspaper? How would you feel about becoming an even better writer than you are right now? Okay. How do you feel about writing a story instead of doing homework? How do you feel about writing a story instead of watching TV? How would you feel writing about something you did in science? How would you feel writing about something you did in social studies? How do you feel... Read the sentence. How do you feel if you could write more in school? Okay. How do you feel about writing down the important things your teacher says about a new topic? How do you feel writing a long story or report in school? How do you feel writing answers to questions in science or social studies? How do you feel if your teacher asked you to go back and change some of your writing? All right, last page. All right, oh, one more. How do you feel if your classmates talked about making your writing better? How would you feel writing an advertisement for something people can buy? How do you feel keeping a journal for class? How do you feel writing about things that have happened in your life? All right, now last page. How do you feel about writing about something from another person's point of view? How do you feel about checking your writing to make sure the words that you have written are spelled correctly? How do you feel if your classmates read something you wrote? How do you feel if you don't write as much in school? All right, thank you. Okay. So now we're going to read some words from a list. Okay. So I have some list of words that I want you to read one word at a time. Some of the words will be easy for you, and some may be hard. You are not expected to know all of the words. Put it down. Put it down. You are not expected to know all the words. If you don't know a word right away, try your best to figure it out. I can't help you in any way, and I can't tell you whether you are right or wrong. Just do your very best. All right? So here's where we'll start. Let me get my papers. Alright. Okay, right here, Alright, read slowly and clearly so I can understand, okay? Don't rush through it because you want to get through it. Alright? Even better, we'll use this to block out the words. So once you read one word, go down the list. No, you don't want to use that? Alright. One word at a time. One word at a time. All right. Go ahead.
Finished.
Nope, this one.
What?
Read slowly, okay? Because I'm going to write some notes.
Sunlight, desert, crops, traveled, favorite, adoption, terrible, predator, illustration, ocean, pilot, dynamite, struggled, symbol, community, passenger, memorize, environment, ventured, invitation.
All right. Okay. Let's go up one. Let's read one more column. Go ahead. Read slowly, again, and clear, so I can hear every word you're saying.
Content, reflect, medicine, biographic, whatever the heck that is. Capture, vessels, tales, stampede, whatever. Discovered, scarce, pyramid, vessels, pioneers, habitat.
Thank you. Alright, so we'll do one more. I know I lied. One more. Last column, this column right here. Column number 3. Nice and slowly again, like you've been reading. Alright. Is there a glare? No, don't turn the lights off. Turn them back on.
finish, celebrate, believe, confuse, Motron, rough, engines, tongue, tough, crowd, will, move, curious, silver, electronics, introduce, enemies, growl, clothing, introduce, explain.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. All right. So now that I know that information, we're going to move on to our reading. It's real quick. It's all going to be okay. It's going to be fine.
It is.
It's going to be fine. Okay.
Rest of mine. Where's bigger rest of mine? That's saying something.
What?
So that's saying something.
Alright, almost there. Almost there, I promise. Put it down. Put it down. Don't choke like that. Perfect. Alright. Put it down. Put it down, please. Alright. So before you start to read, I want to find out what you already know about some ideas in the text. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Just a few. There's only 4. All right, ready?
Too much.
Who was Amelia Earhart?
The first woman to fly across the world. Right, better speed on here. Right, better speed. Better be a thing.
What were the dangers of flying a small plane 100 years ago?
You need to have a lot of experience.
Okay. What is an adventurer?
Person who likes going place to place.
What'd you say?
Person who likes going place to place.
All right, lastly, what are women's rights?
The bird answered for me.
What are women's rights? I'm not talking about the bird. What are women's rights? What do you think women's rights are?
To make them just legal as men's rights.
Alright. Perfect. So, you now get to show me how you can read on your own. I want you to read this passage out loud because I need you to remember all the things you do as a reader. I'm going to write notes and record this, which you already know. I can't give you any hints or any help. If you come to a word that you don't know, just do your best and keep on going. When you are done reading, I'll ask you to retell what you read, and I'll ask you some questions again. Alright? So, Amelia Earhart. Go ahead and read that. Read out loud. Sorry. You have to read out loud so I can hear you. Please.
Amelia Earhart was an adventurer and a pioneer. In the field of flying, she did things no other woman had ever done before. During the World War I, Amelia worked as a nurse. She carried pilots who had been hurt in the war. Earhart listened to what things they said about flying. She watched planes take off and land. She knew that she too must fly. In In 1928, Earhart was the first one to cross the Atlantic in a plane, but someone else flew the plane. Amelia Earhart watched to be more than just a passenger. She wanted to fly a plane across the ocean herself. For 4 years, Earhart trained to be a pilot. Then, in 1932, she flew across the Atlantic to Ireland. Then, the trip took over 14 years. Flying may seem easier today, however, Earhart faced many dangers. Airplanes had just been invented. They were much smaller than our planes today. Mechanical problems happened quite often. There was no computers to help her flying across the ocean. Was as frightening as sailing across had been years before, Earhart knew the dangers she faced. However, she said, "I want to do it because I want to do it." Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must become a challenge to others. Earhart planned to fly around the world. She flew more than 20 hours and set sail. Then her plane disappeared somewhere over the huge Pacific Ocean. Some people searched for a long time and many gave up. Earhart and her plane were never found, but people are still looking.
All right. So, based on what you've read, I want you to retell the story to me. So retell what you have read.
Amelia Earhart was trying to do things no other woman had done before.
Okay. Anything else?
Don't remember.
That's all right. Do you remember anything else about Amelia Earhart? Okay, that's fine. All right. Question time. All right. What was Amelia Earhart's main goal?
To fly across the Atlantic Ocean by herself.
What was Amelia Earhart doing in a plane when she first crossed the Atlantic?
Flying it.
How long did it take Amelia Earhart when she flew across the Atlantic?
14 years.
Why would flying alone across the Atlantic be especially dangerous thing to do?
Because the planes had just been invented, there was no computers to help them fly.
Slow. Planes just invented.
There was no computers to help them fly. And there was many mechanical problems that could help them. That could happen.
Right. What was one of the dangers of flying in those early days?
Same question.
So give me some examples. What'd you say before?
The planes have just been invented. There was no computers to help the pilot fly, and there's many mechanical problems that could happen.
How do we know Amelia Earhart believed in equal rights for women?
Because she did things no other woman did.
What was Amelia Earhart trying to do when her plane disappeared?
Fly across the world.
Why do you think her plane was never found?
Technically it was.
Well, in this story, why do you think it was never found?
Because a long time ago, people didn't have, like, metal detectors and stuff.
What?
People didn't have, like, the technology to find it. How do you know if your phone's still recording?
It's recording.
How do you know?
It's good. The light's still on. I can see it.
Doesn't mean anything.
Hmm?
Doesn't mean anything.
Hush. What?
A snake.
Uh,
I really don't know what the thing is. Probably in a boiler room.
better look for it.
I'm back in a week.
Alright, you're on. Alright. So now looking back in this text, I'm going to answer the same question. So, what was Amelia Earhart doing in a plane when she first crossed the Atlantic?
She was flying.
Yeah, you can.
She was passenger.
Alright, how long did it take Amelia Earhart when she flew across the Atlantic?
14 years. What?
Look again. Look in the book. It's right in front of you.
No, that was the other one. But
How long did it take Amelia Earhart when she flew alone across the Atlantic?
she flew the Atlantic and to Ireland.
What?
She flew to the Atlantic and Ireland.
Okay, how long did it take her to fly across?
14 years. No, 14 hours.
Alright, why would flying alone in the Atlantic be especially dangerous to do?
Many mechanical problems to happen.
The mechanical problems is the dangers of flying. Why would flying
no
alone?
Technology.
What?
No technology.
Alright, last one. Why do you think her plane was never found? Looking in this.
They didn't have the technology to find it.
Alright, you can look at it again. Hold on.
Not done yet.
Almost.
Damn it.
Almost. Alright, so now we're going to do something else. One more thing. The same thing that we just did. Alright. Perfect.
What's more reading?
Whole story. It's just bigger print. It's the same as Amelia Earhart, just bigger print. Alright. Oh, wait. I forgot to ask you concept questions. Alright, so again, before you read, I want to find out what you already know about some ideas in the text. So I'll ask you a few questions. Ready? Why do people go to libraries?
To fall asleep.
Seriously, why do people go to libraries?
To read.
Alright. What does getting animals to come to you mean?
To find a lost snake.
Alright.
May not be in our room right now.
Excuse me. What can waves do?
A wave of beats or ocean wave?
Like an ocean wave. What can an ocean wave do?
Drag you out to sea.
What?
Drag you out to sea.
What sounds does a dolphin make? You don't have to make the sound, just give me like what do you think it sounds like. You don't have to
Look,
make the
so
sound.
now, never met a dolphin in real life.
We went on the cruise, remember?
A long time ago.
Alright. What does a dolphin sound like? What does a dolphin make? What kind of noise?
It's on the bird when it's happy.
Hmm?
The sound of the bird when it's happy.
Alright, well people won't know what the bird sounds like, so what do you think? They're not gonna know. What sounds do a dolphin make?
Oh no.
Alright. Go ahead and read for me, sir. Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a boy named Mark. Mark loved to go to the ocean and play his flute. One day, he was playing his flute when a school of dolphins swarmed by. They leaped on the air every 30 seconds. Mark could almost practically when they would leap again. He watched them for a long time because it was so interesting. In their play that day, he decided that he wanted to learn more about dolphins. Mark went to the library. That next weekend, he took a boat and rowed out as far as he had seen dolphins before. He started playing his flute and trying to mimic the pause sounds he had heard. One type of dolphin sound he had heard, learning that type to make two kinds of pulses. One kind of source it's used to locate dolphins and objects. The other kind It sounds a burst pulse that tells the motion state of the dolphin. Mark was trying to mimic this soar. Soon, 40 yards away, he saw the roll of dolphins. The boat pounced in the waves. As the dolphins came closer, they seemed to be curious about the sounds coming from the boat. Suddenly, the boat tripped sharply, and Mark fell out. Somehow, he held on to his flute, and Mark was a good swimmer, but he was too far from the land to swim. The one thing to do was to try and mimic the sound of a dolphin in trouble. Maybe then the dolphins would help him to land, kicking in strongly himself above water. He blew a higher burst sound. Just when he was about to go under, he felt pushed against his leg again and again. A dolphin pushed him. She managed to keep his face above water, and she gently pushed him to to the shore. Mark couldn't believe what was happening. He got safety to shore. Although the boat was never seen again, as he sat on the beach, still shaking from fear, and realized he could reach his goal. He had surely learned a lot about dolphins that day.
Alright. Just like we did with the other one, I want you to retell me this story. We're almost done with this.
This last one?
One more.
God damn it.
That's it. Stop. Alright. Retell me this story. What do you remember from this text? Almost done.
I probably got saved from a dolphin at the end.
What else?
He fell off the boat.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Nothing else? What else do you remember? Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Alright. What instrument did Mark play?
Flute.
Where did Mark go to learn more about dolphins?
Library.
How did Mark learn about the dolphin sounds?
He heard them.
Hmm?
He heard them make the sound.
What two kinds of sounds do dolphins make?
A burst and a locating sound.
Why was Mark trying to mimic sonar?
I don't know.
Why did the boat tip over?
These dolphins came looking for Mark. And we tipped the boat over.
What did Mark do to save himself?
He copied the burst sound.
Alright, last one. How did Mark get to shore?
A dolphin pushed him to shore.
Alright, so let's look back in our story. What two kinds of sounds do dolphins make?
A looping sound and a burst sound.
Okay. Why was Mark trying to mimic the sonar? Don't step on the sleep on me. Get up. Wake up, boy. Why was Mark trying to mimic sonar?
How does he feel like it?
Alright, look back in our text. Why was he trying to mimic the sonar sounds? The locating
Let's
sounds.
see what the dolphins will do.
Last one. Last story.
Better be.
Huh?
Better be.
It is, I promise. Last story. You're doing great. Thank you, Vincent. Where is the story? Where did we keep it? Perfect. Look, this one's only one page. See? Just one page. Promise. Alright, again. We're going to do those concept questions just to see what you already know about the text. Alright? It's your last story, I promise, and then you're free. Alright? Let me make sure.
Better take me to movie set.
What?
Better take me to movie set.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Alright.
Why?
What does getting to work mean to you?
Going to school.
What does life in the country mean to you?
I don't know.
Life in the country. You know, people say that? What does life in the country mean to you? Like you have life in the city, but life in the country.
Rednecks.
Hmm?
Rednecks.
I can't hear you.
Rednecks.
What do farm animals eat?
Food.
Hmm?
Food.
What does living in the suburbs mean to you? Go ahead and read this passage. And I'm going to take some notes again, just like I have. And read slowly and clearly so I can hear everything you're saying, alright?
People live in different places. Some people live in the city, others live in the country. Still, other people live between the city and the country. They live in suburbs. Why do people live in different places? They live in different places. People
Slow down. Go ahead. It's okay, slow down.
live in these different places. People live in the city to be near their jobs. Cities have lots of factories, schools, and offices. People work in the buildings if they don't want to drive a long way to their job. They live in the city. There are many other things to do in the cities. They have cities have museums and zoos. They also have many movie theaters. People live in the country to be close to their jobs too. Many people who live in the country are farmers. They plant crops on the land. They also sell crops or many use to feed the animals. They live on the farm. Farmers raise cows, pigs, and chickens. The main food that the animals eat is grain. They are nothing to things. There are other things to do in the country. You can find a river to fish in, or take a walk in the woods. The life in the country is quiet. People live between the country and the city. They live in the suburbs. Some people think that people who live in the suburbs have the best both worlds. They live closer to their jobs, and the suburbs are quieter than the city. They often have many movie theaters, and it doesn't take as long to go either to the city or the country. The suburbs are more crowded than the country, but less crowded than the city. Where people live depends upon where they like it most.
Perfect.
Please phone's volume up.
Mm-hmm.
Please. It's a ringtone.
Oh no.
What?
My phone fell. Alright. So, retell me the story. What do you remember from this story?
People live in the country and people live in the city because they feel like it.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
I know you're tired and I know you're bored. Do you remember anything else from this story? You're almost done. Like 5 more minutes. A pinky swear. Alright. Nothing else from the story? Nothing else you remember? Okay. What is this passage mostly about?
Where people live.
Why do people live in the city?
They want to live in the city. Because they're close to their jobs.
Why do people want to live close to their jobs?
So they get to work early.
Why would someone who isn't a farmer like to live in the country?
Less crowded.
What is one thing that the passage says you can do in the country besides farm?
Go fishing. Go on a walk in the woods.
Right. What crop would be planted by farmers who raise animals?
Grain.
How do the city and suburbs differ?
Suburbs is less populated in the city.
Last question. According to the passage, why do people choose different places to live?
Because they want to.
Looking back. Look back one more time. Why do people want to live close to their jobs?
So they get to work early.
According to the passage, why do people choose different places to live?
Because they want to.
Look back in the text.
Because they want to.
Okay. Thank you. Alright. Last but not least. I'm going to do a little sample writing.
No.
Real quick. Only a minute. Only a little bit. So it'll be a few minutes to think about something you want to write about.
Nothing.
And then take a few minutes to write, alright? This last thing and then you can go, I promise. Promise. Look, I don't have anything else lined up here. I'm empty.
You lied.
I'm empty. Look, everything's done.
You lied.
Everything's done. Last thing and then you're free to go. Just gonna write about something really quick. And then I'll set my timer. And it's only for a minute, okay? For 3 minutes. Go. Write a story. You can write about your favorite bands,
No.
favorite movies, who's on your shirt right now. Come on, anything, write anything. And then you can go. Stop. Take this seriously, Vincent.
I don't know what to do.
You don't need to erase it, just write something out. It's just so I can see how your writing is. That's it. That's all.
What do you mean?
Nothing is graded. I'm not handing this into your teachers. I just want to see how you write.
What do you mean?
In terms of your handwriting and in terms of the stories you can come up with.
I'll do stories.
That's it. It's just a bunch of writing. Okay? So we'll start our timer again. Okay? So go ahead. Go now. If you keep writing something all over again, we're gonna come back and do it later.
I'm not gonna write a story.
Hmm?
I'm not gonna write a story.
Just write something. It doesn't have to be a random story. I can write about what you did this weekend. What you did yesterday. What'd you do yesterday?
I played a game.
Write about what you did yesterday. What game did you play?
I did.
Okay. What was it about? What was your game about? That's the game you played. What was it about?
Hey, man.
Write about what you do in the game.
Kill people.
Go 1 more minute. That's all you have left. That's all you have left, and you're free to go. Make this last minute the best.
No.
Yeah, 1 more minute, and then you can go upstairs. Okay? What did you do last night?
Throw up.
Before that? Where'd you go yesterday night? Alright. We're good. Thank you. Alright. Thank you very much. We are done. And you're free to go. Stop.
I'm taking my hammer.
No, stop.
Yes.
Vincent.
I'm putting it in the garage.
Thank you. I will put it in the garage later.
You're gonna forget.